I think it's time that we put some respect on Busta Rhymes' name. Let's go. So Halloween Resurrection, in most of people's view, is the worst in the franchise. And when I mean most, a vast majority. I mean, you have the conversation of the people that hate the Rob Zombie movies, and you have the people that hate Halloween's Ends. I do see a resurgence of people that are starting to not like Halloween 5, and then there's some people that can't get with the Thorn stuff. Halloween's a controversial franchise. Well, the one that isn't controversial for most people, it seems that Resurrection is always towards the bottom, whether it's dead last or right above it. I'm here to say that I am a Halloween Resurrection defender. I am sick and tired of the slander of Halloween Resurrection, and this is a defense rant video. And this is me putting my foot down and saying, no, I am not going to let the internet tell me to hate this movie. I grew up on Halloween Resurrection. It is the first Halloween movie that I got to see in theaters. I have the VHS of it from when I was a kid. I always liked this movie. The only time I started to not like this movie is when I joined the horror YouTube community a few years back, and everyone in the world is telling me Halloween Resurrection is the worst in the franchise. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, right? Well, I guess I'm kind of saying it's good, but I'm not saying it's a masterpiece. What I'm saying is, I think it gets way too much hate. Way too much hate. But when you compare Halloween rankings, and also if you compare it with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and sometimes people combine them together, you'll even have Halloween Resurrection at the bottom when you combine the big three. And I think that's ridiculous, because I think there's way worse Nightmare on Elm Street movies and a couple way worse Friday movies. If you're a die-hard Laurie Strode fan, and if you watched it in the sequence of events, it does kind of disrespect H2O. Granted, I can look past that stuff because I have nostalgia for this movie. I've seen Resurrection first. Now, granted, I love H2O now, but I can almost look at it because of the fact that Halloween is such a messy franchise with the timelines and all sorts of places. I can watch H2O as a standalone thing and completely ignore Resurrection. And then I can watch Resurrection as its own thing. I personally don't care what happened to Laurie Strode in the beginning of that movie. To me, it's just like, it's whatever. I think the scene is actually pretty cool with Michael meeting the guy downstairs, the crazy guy with the clown mask and this and that, and him walking through the tunnel and all the monologues. I thought that was kind of cool. And what I mean is that this movie is fun. Like, I think when you get into like the whole concept of people investigating Myers' house in the early 2000s, you have people literally from the American Pie cast in this movie, and it's just like a fun teen hangout movie investigating Michael Myers' house with cameras, reality TV. I like reality TV shows like Jersey Shore, The Challenge, stuff like that. So it's like, it's cool seeing a reality TV show version, knowing that Michael Myers is probably going to show up to his house and be like, yo, get out my house. So I dig the concept. I don't take it that serious. Again, I have nostalgia lens. But I'm not saying it's a top 5 Halloween movie. It's not. I just don't think it's dead last. I like it personally way more than Halloween Ends. And that's my problem, is that, I mean, there's a lot of people that hate Halloween Ends, but there's some people, a lot of people actually, starting to create a cult following for Halloween Ends where they absolutely love it, which is completely fine. But the problem is, you don't really see that with Halloween Resurrection. So I'm trying to, I guess, create the cult following right now for Resurrection, because why do some people absolutely love Halloween Ends and forgive what they do to Michael in that movie? Michael, who is at one point one of the best Michael Myers of all time, and James Hugh Courtney in Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, and then in Halloween Ends he falls off a cliff and gets beat up by Corey, some random dude we just met in the movie. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now I get it. People are going to burn up, but Busta Rhymes, he disrespects Michael and this, that, and the third. To me, it makes way more sense. Again, nostalgia lenses, maybe that's part of it. But Busta Rhymes is really funny, and they play it comedic. It's not really taken serious, Busta Rhymes. Corey was played serious, and Michael was played serious. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I don't think Michael's not played serious in Halloween Resurrection. I think he's a better and more formidable Michael Myers than Halloween Ends is. Halloween Ends is the weakest version we ever got. Busta Rhymes, he's a grown dude. You know, he watches kung fu videos. I think it was Watch On Lee. He would talk about basically, you know, Bruce Lee, Jet Li type mindset. And during that time, like, back in the day, is like, that type of stuff was a lot more popular. That was when Jet Li was in his prime. I think Jackie Chan was on the scene, and Bruce Lee was still a name that a lot of people talked about. And to me, it makes way more sense that a grown dude who essentially is obsessed with Kung Fu is going to use that against Michael. And it adds a fun element. Like I said, this is a fun, campier movie. And if you can look at it from a campier lens and not take it that serious, I think it's funny. I don't think it's that big a deal. I think all Busta Rhymes catchphrases are hilarious. Trick or treat, you know what I'm saying? Happy Halloween. Like, everything he's saying is comedy gold. Because I think if you do take Busta Rhymes out of the movie becomes way more generic, way more bland. Say what you want about Busta Rhymes, but he makes that movie entertaining. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a great thing that he does all that to Michael. Now, granted, I don't think nowadays I would want to see that happen again, anyone do that. Unless it's Busta Rhymes and they brought him back, that'd be kind of funny, not gonna lie. But I think what Busta Rhymes did to Michael is no worse than what they did to Michael in Halloween Ends. I think Halloween Ends is way more disrespectful. The closing chapter of a trilogy of a Michael we know is super formidable, taken way more serious, and just doing what they did to him so dirty that entire movie, making him so weak. Where Halloween Resurrection, he was serious the entire time. He had good kills. He had good aura. I get it, he has the makeup thing, this and that, but it's not the worst mask in the franchise, and they lit him in a way that made him pretty scary and intimidating in certain shots of the movie. Busta Rhymes, he's just a character. Like a character. Not just a character in the movie, but he is a big personality. And what does that look like when you add Michael in that type of reality situation where you have a reality TV star host who's full of himself, who loves Kung Fu? That was his way of defending himself. He's like sitting there like, okay, we're about to get got. I watch a lot of Kung Fu. Let's give it a shot. You can imagine Michael, who's so used to having everyone run away scared from him, stop and be a little confused that this guy is just rambling and coming at him and saying all this crazy stuff. I think it threw Michael off guard. I don't look at it like Michael's being disrespected or punked with some of the stuff he's saying. I look at it, he's like, what is going on? Who is this guy? He's like confused, I think, by it. And the scene also a lot of people probably talk about is Busta Rhymes pulling out the Michael Myers mask, walking, turn around, and then yelling at Michael. I think that scene is hilarious because it plays so funny that Busta Rhymes adds suspense. He's walking as Michael's following him from behind. He turns around, accuses him. Again, like I said, I think Michael is so thrown off by it. Another reason why I think that Michael wasn't like super like, I need to get this guy right now when Busta Rhymes was yelling in his face with the Michael Myers mask is that Busta Rhymes gave him the nod like, hey, our whole studio session is set up. That's where Tyra Banks' character, she's in there. Go in here, get her. And Michael was looking at that from a strategic standpoint. He's like, I'll get back to this idiot Busta Rhymes. I'm going to go handle this situation right now because this is smarter. I'm going to let him walk around and intimidate everyone. I look at it as in two different ways. One, Michael was confused that this guy's really doing this right now. He's like, what is happening? And two, he's also like, I'm not that worried about him. I'll come back to him later. This is more an important objective right now. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Do you like Halloween Resurrection at all? I am going to be shocked to see if there's anyone that agrees or believes me. I'm sure there's going to be so many people that are just going to bash Halloween Resurrection in the comments. I've seen it before. You know, don't call me crazy. I'm not saying it's a top 3, top 4, top 5 in the franchise. Probably not even top 6. I would have to look at my ranking. But I like the movie. I think it's fun. I rewatched it a good amount through this October. And I'm just tired of acting like I don't like this movie. Because for a couple years now, I'm like, oh yeah, Halloween Resurrection is definitely bad, this and that. But there's other movies in the franchise that I think are utterly way more boring. I mentioned Halloween Ends. That's the movie that I hate the most. It just personally offends me the most. You can check out, I have 2 reviews essentially for it. A Halloween Ends full-on review, and then I have like a little topical video where I just rant about it. You can go check those out. Maybe I'll set a link or a description below. Whatever. It's on my channel. But I just wanted to say there's a cult following for Halloween 6, whether it's theatrical or producers. There's a cult following for Halloween Ends. There's a cult following for Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. There's pretty much nothing for Resurrection. Everyone always puts that down towards the bottom. Heck, there's even people that really love the Rob Zombie movies, which I don't think either of them are that great, to be honest with you. So, to me, this is still somewhat Michael Myers. I think it's a fun concept. I think it's a fun movie. I don't take it that serious. It's not, I just don't take it that serious. You know what I mean? It's a campy movie. It's a fun movie to put on. It's not boring in the slightest. It's entertaining. Okay, so yeah, lastly, leave a comment below. Do you think Halloween Resurrection is the worst in the franchise? Or do you kind of like me, you're like, it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be? I'm not saying it's good, but I don't think it deserves all the hate it gets on the same level where it's like it's completely trash compared to all the other Halloweens or even other slasher franchises. I think it's better than a lot of the other movies. Like you compare it with like Freddy's Dead or something like that and Nightmare on Elm Street. To me, this is way better than that. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.